the game because it's any given Sunday.
Welcome to Mustard Cat Sports Challenge. This is the playoff edition, folks. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to deal with my nasally, phlegmy voice. But we got a reoccurring guest. The one and only stay-at-home Gary is back in studio. Well, not in studio, but across the seas. So, welcome back,
Hi,
Gary.
diddly ho, neighborinos.
Gary, I got three questions for you.
I've
They're
got
all
two answers for you.
okay. Perfect. Well, we'll just skip one of them then. What's your favorite color?
Favorite color? I'm gonna go with high school me would have said red. I think it's a pretty popular vote. However, I'm gonna go with that nice interstate battery green
Ooh,
out
okay.
of memory for my good old pal Bobby Labonte, who's still alive.
Yeah, he is.
But that main green on that car was something special.
Yeah. Okay. That's a nice green. That's a very nice green. Um, this one might take a little more thought, unless you dream about this every night. Then it might come off the lips like nothing. But if you could play any professional sport and be great at it, obviously, what sport would it be, and then what position?
Yeah, I play this all the time when I'm falling asleep. Uh, Favorite sport, if I could be a professional athlete, I'm going to go golf, strictly for money and longevity.
Okay.
I do enjoy golf. I'm not nearly as good at it. On a good day, I might break 100,
Okay.
but I'm going to say golf just purely for that aspect. And I also think in the last like 15 years, golfers have become more celebrities than, equal to certain
Yeah.
football,
Agreed.
baseball athletes as well.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Take the leisurely route. I'll just golf the rest of my life. Ugh.
I got a bad hip. It's all in the hips.
Hey, uh, Adam Sandler's Happy Gilmore 2 is going to be coming out on Netflix. So,
Ooh.
why don't you stay tuned for that?
Is Chubbs Peterson in it again?
No, I think that actor died.
The actor did, or just Chubbs Peterson in the movie?
No, I'm pretty sure the actor did. Pretty sure.
Oh, way to ruin my day.
Oh, I don't know. Don't
Thanks
take
for
that
that.
as face value. I'd have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure he did. I don't, but you know, yeah. Thanks for ruining your morning.
Guy's off chasing alligators.
All right. Do you have a favorite sports memorabilia piece? And if you do, what is it? Or what would be your ideal or best memorabilia piece that you want to get?
Ooh. Well, I'm
And
going to
and
take
hold
out sports cards.
okay, but hold on. You can't sell it. It's just something that you're gonna hang on to. So
Sure,
it's not
sure. Well, I'm going to take sports cards out of my favorites. So
okay.
I'll tell you, I'm a little bit frustrated with one piece. When I was probably 12, there was a store called Face the Music back home. And they had a bunch of obviously records, Pokemon cards. You get jungle boxes, you get whatever you want there.
Yeah.
But they also had memorabilia behind the desk. And I had like, I don't even know what it was, maybe $80 burning a hole in my pocket. So this would have been back in early 2000s, I
Okay.
would say. And I had two options. There was two things behind the case, two.
Hmm.
And it was a Tim Duncan autographed photo
Okay.
in a really cool swing case that I could swing. And I loved Tim Duncan. I loved the Spurs at that time in my life. And the other item, which I passed on, same price, by the way,
Hmm.
was an autographed Peyton Manning football. And I bet that carries at least a $400 or $500 value. And my photo is probably worth 25 on eBay. So uh, that was a
Oops.
silly mistake as a child I made, one of many mistakes.
Yeah.
And I do regret that.
Yeah.
But
Good.
so my Tim Duncan autograph photo is always nice in my life. No, I would actually say one of my favorite pieces I have is my autographed Gabriel Landeskog jersey that our pal Sam, who's been on this podcast before, was with me when we got, and we were college kids
Hmm.
acting like little 10-year-olds Hey,
Yeah.
sir, can I get your autograph? Sure, please. And anyways, Gabe Landeskog came up. McKinnon actually signed Sam's jersey. I was wearing Sam's Landeskog jersey. Got
Yeah.
it signed, and I kept the jersey. So that's a pretty prized memory. We got to sit there and talk with him for all of about a minute. So that was kind of cool.
Okay.
Um, favorite item, if I could ever, though? Gosh, I'm a pretty big I don't even know. I don't even know what to say in terms of memorabilia. I'd rather just meet the player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd rather meet them, shake their hands, get an experience with them. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah. I can live with that. I can live with that.
And then if they want to give me a cut of their salary, I won't say no.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Hey, so and so, nice to meet you. Well, how about you just slide a little bit, my way,
If I ever meet Michael Jordan outside of a NASCAR rally, I'm going to say, "Hey, it's a pleasure to meet you." Firm handshake, by the way. Any way I could get like $1,000 or $2? Let's see what he says.
Yeah. I
He's
hope I'm
got a
there.
couple to spare.
I hope I'm there to watch, and I'm going to be off on the side because I don't want to be affiliated. When he
You're
turns
gonna
you
be really
down,
mad when he's. You're
when he
gonna be
turns you
really
down.
mad when he says,
Oh yeah,
"Yeah, you know
sure.
what, kid? You seem all right. Here you
Yeah,
go.
I will.
Go
No,
buy
well,
yourself some Pampers."
yeah. I'm his friend. No, you're not. Get out of here.
I say, "I don't know that guy."
Well, you know, I feel like you probably are kicking yourself in the butt for not getting that Peyton Manning, ball, because that would have been like he wasn't a big star, but he was rising at that time.
Yeah,
So,
it, like I would have never taken that. I remember looking at it, being like, "Wow, that's kind of cool," but I don't. I never was a big Manning guy. You know what I mean?
mhm,
I got a lot more respect for the Mannings once they retired. But
true.
when they played, I couldn't stand them, either of
Yeah.
them. So I just Tim Duncan. It was so obvious to me. I'm going to go with that. But if I could have known what the future would hold, that was silly.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Duncan's still in my opinion, top 10 player of all time, but
Mhm.
no one cares
No.
because he's a big man and he's not Shaq.
It's true. No one's Shaq, okay? No one is.
I am Beyonce always.
No, I am. Well, let's get into the show here. We're basically only going to be talking about football, playoff football. Normally we talk a little bit of all sports. There might be a little jibber jabber of other stuff, but it's going to be all football today. And we're going to start off with, I'll let you guys all know the seeding. If you haven't, if you've lived under a rock or something, the NFC seeding, Detroit Lions won last night. They are 15-2, number one seed. Number two seed, we got Philadelphia Eagles, who are 14-3. Third seed is Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 10-7. LA Rams, 10-7. Minnesota Vikings, who lost to the Lions, are fifth seed now, 14-3. Washington Commanders, sixth seed, 12-5. Green Bay Packers are the last seed at 11-6. And Gary, before we go over to the AFC side, uh, I know that you're across the pond and you were probably sleeping for most of that Detroit Minnesota game, but Minnesota did not show up. They were there, but they were on their own little world. There was bad throws by Darnold. Um, he looked like the Sam Darnold that probably should have been there the whole season. So
He looked like Carolina Sam Darnold,
yeah,
is what
yeah,
you're saying.
I would say so. So I also would like to say this. I put a bet down saying he would not rush for more than 8.5 yards, longest rush. That was
Mhm.
totally great until the fourth quarter at about, um, let's say about 4 minutes. And guess what? He runs for a 9 yard run.
I always
Game,
love that. Yeah,
game.
I get so sick and tired of that with those rushes when you're a QB and you're down. All of
Mhm.
a sudden, these guys just think they're Michael Vick.
Yeah.
Every single one of these quarterbacks, they'll have no rushing yards all the way through until probably fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden, when they're trying to move the ball without taking time off, they decide it's a good time to run and get gains of 8, tick the time off and lose the game. It's always so fun. I swear this season's been worse than any year for that.
Oh yeah.
It's been just terrible.
Yeah. So yeah, I lost that, and they were at that point. It was
Yes.
yeah.
Love when you lose money.
So yeah, that was terrible. But the Lions look stout. They look pristine. There was a couple little hiccups that they had, but they looked like the number one seed. They there was no
Yeah.
faking it there. They look good. Those black jerseys that they rocked and that blue
Ooh.
helmet look good. Man, I not gonna
Hey, you
say
look good, you play good, right?
yeah. I'm not gonna say that I'm jumping on the Detroit Lions bandwagon, but if they wore those jerseys all the time, sold. I'd become a Detroit Lions fan because it's a it's a pretty blue and it's a nice black.
Well, I'm glad they looked good.
Yeah,
Uh, I think the Lions are definitely they're for real. Anyone who's saying they're not would be an idiot.
that's true. Um, Vikings fans. Uh,
Yeah, Packers
uh,
fans.
or that's true. That's true.
We've
Um,
just, in the NFC North, we've been so used to those Lions being just, we are who they thought they were for the
yeah,
longest time. And it's clear they are something different than what we've watched over the last 30 years,
yeah.
for
No,
sure.
that they look good, um, and they're aggressive.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that, I think they went for it on fourth down for sure two times. It might have been three, and they didn't need to. Like they could have just kicked a field goal, but instead they're like, nope. And all three of those
Yeah.
times worked out. So
They're, they're the epitome. They live by the jump shot, they die by the jump shot. And
yeah,
I generally hate when they would go for it on fourth down in certain circumstances. It's like, I mean, but when you're so consistent about it, when it's just not even a thought,
yeah,
they're just it's so frustrating. And I was telling Sam, like, it's literally, I'm sick and tired of watching defenders celebrate third down stops.
yeah,
All these guys, they might get them. It's third and three,
yeah,
third and four, and they come up with their fists up,
yeah.
fourth down. They're so excited, jogging off to and then they look back and they're like, oh my God, they're
Oh
going
yeah,
for it. Holy crap. And now everyone's frazzled.
yeah.
And it's just like, it looks so easy for them to pick up fourth downs. And when you really think about the NFL, it, it must be there's probably so much stats on it. Actually, I know there's tons of stats on it where
Mhm.
just you have four downs every single time you touch the ball.
Yeah.
You have so much better opportunity than just three in a punt.
Oh yeah,
And they don't care. They could be on their own 30. They could be midfield. They could be first and goal from the two, and they're or fourth
Mhm.
and goal from the two. They're always going to go for it. So they're at least consistent about it. But it's the one thing where you just look at those, and if even two of those go a different way, they
yeah.
probably lose games because it's usually like that's generally what those are the turning points. You
Mhm.
almost every single game you can look at those and be like, man, that would have been really bad if we didn't get that fourth down.
Yeah.
So they're going to live by the jump shot. They're going to die by the jump shot. Right now, they're living by it
Oh, yeah. And succeeding. So
big time.
the second seed, Philadelphia Eagles, they played the Giants. They didn't have their starting quarterback. I don't think they started a lot of their starters. It was kind of a lackluster game, but they won. I guess it all depend on I think Jalen Hurts' health. Like I know he had a concussion. Does the concussion stay away? Does he get hit again big and then get I don't know. I think
Yeah,
their playoff hope is all around him. Even though Saquon
he
Barkley is really good.
right. No,
So,
he's back.
yeah.
Hurts is going to play.
Yeah.
The one thing the Packers will have going for them is that it's like the one potential weak spot of the Eagles is that they have notoriously slow starts.
Hmm.
And Hurts is going to be back. He's going to be fine. They rested him for an extra week here, but you maybe just could catch a little bit of rust from
Hmm.
him. You know what I mean? Being without the game, I think he exited in the first quarter at least first half of that
Yeah.
game a couple weeks ago. So that's almost 2.5 weeks he sat out, and I mean he's a professional, he's a beast.
Yeah.
So, but the one thing the Packers got to hope for is that there's just a little bit of rust on Jalen Hurts,
Hmm.
and they can just get and force some turnovers. That's the one thing the Packers generally are consistent about doing.
Hmm.
So they're going to need a fast start, and they're going to need to just weather the storm when the Eagles come storming back, because that's the only way they're going to win. If the Eagles come out to a fast start, probably good night.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, third. um, they whomped the Saints, but they looked absolutely terrible in the beginning because the Saints were whomping them, and then all of a sudden they started coming back, and I feel like this will be a fun team to watch in the playoffs because they're either going to be on fire or they're going to be a dumpster fire, but they're going to be on
Yeah.
fire.
Well, their offense is going to be on fire
Oh yeah, yeah,
for sure, but their defense is going to be lackluster.
yeah,
I mean, that's the one thing that's the biggest concern with the Bucks fans right now is their defense. It has to be.
yeah,
And because their offense can go toe to toe with most people. They're like one of the most versatile offenses in the league right now, I feel like.
yeah,
And their defense just got walked all over by the Saints. Rattler. So that's got to feel good going into the playoffs, doesn't it?
yeah. It feels really good. Um, then we have the LA Rams, who, in my mind, even though they had a 10-7 season, I feel like anytime I ever watched a Rams game, I felt like they either were completely garbage and it was like, wow, this team sucks, or they were pulling wins out. Like I never really saw them like dominate a game. I could be completely wrong on that, but I feel like I just never. So yeah.
Well, they've been like possibly one of the most like inconsistent offenses. The Rams, you have no idea what team's going to show up.
Mm,
You have no idea what Cooper Cup's going to show up. You have no idea what
yeah.
Puka Nakua is going to show up. He'll have 2 points or he'll have 35.
Mm,
So it's like it's so inconsistent. It just depends on who's going to show up. But their defense has been keeping them in games for sure. Like their defense is actually pretty stout. Um, and I think Stafford in the playoffs is usually pretty fun to watch for sure.
yeah. I think that. Well, they're at home too. That'll help that they're at home at least for the first game. But they did lose against Seattle, so uh, so.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
But Minnesota obviously lost. They're the fifth seed. Um, I know who the Minnesota Vikings are, so.
Womp womp. Yeah, hey, nice banner you got behind there. Uh,
Big,
yeah, those poor Vikings, man. This is just and the Packers don't look much better. So the
yeah,
Vikings are just everyone's. That was the worst ending they could possibly have to the season. Could
yeah,
go in even if you lose that in a tight game. It's like,
yeah,
all right, we got some. This is the best team. Like they're going to have to beat the Lions, the Eagles to go on to the Super Bowl anyway. So it's good to get a little tune up, but you don't usually like getting blown out of the water.
yeah. No, that's
Doesn't bode well for your confidence.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're out in the first round. I also wouldn't be surprised if they win this first round and then they're out. Yeah, the Vikings are who they are, and until they prove me wrong, which they have not, um, yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah.
So, um, but then we got the Washington Commanders, who, have had a surprisingly good season. Not, you know, hate their logo, but great team. So they did beat the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are a nobody, but that is a division rival game, so they won against them. So
Yeah, true. Well, Jaden Daniels has been a magician. I
yes,
mean, he's the real deal. However, it's exactly what they were saying about CJ Stroud last year. And yeah, he's in the playoffs, but he doesn't look like what everyone thought he was last year.
no,
Even with all those injuries still. But yeah, Jaden Daniels, he's been fun to watch big
yeah,
time. But their run defense, the Washington Commanders, they have absolutely zero run defense. Teams are going to run all over them.
yeah.
It's going to be open season.
Well, not to jump right into it, but they're playing Tampa, so
Well,
maybe they wish.
Tampa is very versatile, and they take a really balanced approach for the most part. So I think it's going to be a shootout, to be honest. Assuming that Baker and that offense shows up, which I have no reason to think they won't.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a shootout.
Yeah. Last one is the Packers, and they unfortunately lost against the Bears. But honestly, I don't feel bad that they lost because I feel like the Bears need a little bit of a, a lift up from that last field goal debacle.
I said the same thing. I was like, you know what? Those poor Bears, this has been quite the season for them. I was like, let them have this.
Yeah.
They're gonna go into the offseason with this, and
Yeah.
they'll enjoy themselves and at least can live with their offseason.
Yeah.
But not what you want as a Packer fan, obviously.
No.
I mean, we can't beat NFC North teams to save our life this year.
No.
We didn't even deserve to beat the Bears the one time we did.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have just not shown up in those games. But it's so obvious. Like, this is Green Bay Packer history. We play up to great teams and we play down to bad teams.
Mhm.
Like, it's so consistent with us. We can never just run away with a bad team. That doesn't happen. Like, we don't get big leads at halftime. I think we have one this season, but if you look over the last 5-10 years, even with Rodgers, they just can't do it. They can never have that type of game where they just run away and it's over at halftime.
Well, 2011 when we had the 15-1 season,
Well, I said 5 to 10 years, pal. It's 14, 15 years.
I'm digging into the archive.
That was different.
I'm digging in the archive.
Yeah.
But
I think the Packers, like I said, the Packers are going to have to catch the Eagles sleeping. And don't forget this.
Mm-hmm.
In that 2011 season or 2011 Super Bowl, when they won, they were the 6th seed. They were the bottom seed at the time. Yeah. And not only that, they went into Philadelphia.
They did.
And they knocked off the Birds. So, I mean, lots changed since then, of course, but don't think that we can't do it, for sure. Yeah. Packers have a very good offense. They run the ball. They run the ball extremely well. They force turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to get a quick start against Jalen Hurts. They have to. They got to hope he's a little bit rusty off of these couple weeks.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of interesting matchups. I guess I'll name off the matchups. Can't talk. The matchups for the NFC, and then we'll pick them here later in the show. But starting off on Sunday, it'll be the Packers at Eagles, and then it will be the Commanders at the Bucks, and then Monday night, the Vikings at the Rams. Obviously, the Lions get a bye. So, those will be interesting matchups. But let's jump over to the AFC side because there are some characters on that side. And we'll just start off with the first seed, the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Ref Chiefs, 15-2. They are the number 1 seed. Then Buffalo Bills, our 2nd seed. They went 13-4. Baltimore Ravens, 3rd seed, 12-5. And then the Houston Texans, 10-7. They're the 4th. LA Chargers are the 5th seed, 11-6. Then the 6th seed is Pittsburgh Steelers, 10-7. And the Denver Broncos snuck in with that sneaky win at 10-7. And we're going to start from the bottom and the top because they both played each other. The Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs played each other in this last week. And obviously Kansas City did not play a lot of their starters. But that was they just laid down. It was like they didn't even show up.
They threw that game.
Yeah.
They had to have thrown that game. They did not want to play the white hot Cincy Bengals and Joe Burrow, potentially the MVP Joe Burrow. They did not want him to come to town because they knew that would not be a tune-up game after the bye. That would have been a very fun matchup to watch, and they had no business. They did not want Burrow coming to town. So they just lied down because guess what? Andy Reid does not lose games like that. I don't care who the quarterback is. Carson Wentz, maybe he hasn't played in a while, but you know what? He was the 2nd overall pick behind Jared Goff. Mm-hmm. So don't don't give me this. Yeah, we didn't show up. It was not our backups. Yeah, my butt.
They,
They lied down and let them take the spanking because they were scared of Joe Burrow.
yeah, I don't disagree with you. There was a few plays in the end zone where the Kansas City Chiefs defensive players could have picked it off and they're playing bounce the ball around up in there, and then lo and behold, here comes Denver Bronco touchdown. Like
Yeah.
it was just
It
like
looked like when you're playing out with some nieces and nephews out in the front yard and they're getting mad because they can't stop you. You're
yeah,
faster, you're stronger and
yeah.
everything. Yeah. So you kind of let them have these catches. Oh, I can't catch you. I can't catch you. Oh, you scored a touchdown. Shoot. That's exactly what just happened.
Oh,
The
yeah,
Chiefs, Andy Reid does not allow
yeah,
games to go that way. And
yeah.
so it's just so clear and obvious that they were throwing it. I think they need to look into this, investigate it. If you
Oh,
had money on it, you may be entitled to loss or settlement
oh,
because that was some BS.
yeah. No, that is complete bullcrap because you can't be throwing games, you can't be fixing games because people do bet on these, and if you like betting or don't like betting, it doesn't matter. You can't be fixing games or tossing games or being like, "Hey, I'm just not gonna play." Basically, I'm gonna play
Now,
half-assed. Like,
thankfully,
yeah,
I put the house on Denver. So it worked out because I saw that coming. But it's so annoying. This is where the scripts start to come out. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Everyone's like, is the NFL scripted?
yeah,
This is where it starts to show.
yeah,
This
yeah,
These playoffs are going to be so obvious the outcomes of these games.
yeah. And that's the one thing too. Like, if Denver loses that game, we're talking the Bengals are most likely in the playoffs. So that if this was if this was for nothing, I I still see the betting aspect. Like, oh yeah, that probably should look into that, but then it doesn't have as much weight to it. But now we have two things, betting and then you're also manipulating that the Bengals can't get in. Like that's a bit scummy and that's exactly who the Chiefs are. So so
If they would have had the option to just waive the game and wave the white flag and say
yeah,
we're going to give this one to them, they would have done it.
yeah.
But they'd all lose their jobs because it's a business, and the NFL would
Mhm.
not appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, so that's those two. So we'll jump back up to the second seed, the Bills. Um, I don't even know who they played, to be honest. Oh, yeah, they played the Patriots. I remember watching that game. They didn't start a lot of their starters, but yeah, they just looked like they were resting people. So
yeah,
I'm personally not worried about them. I think they're a good team. Um, I
their offense is fun to watch too.
yeah,
They're
no.
just they're all over the place. Josh Allen is unbelievable.
Mhm.
He's been a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, their defense is going to be the question marks.
Yeah,
They've been pretty inconsistent across the year too. So just depends what team's going to show up.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see on those guys. The Baltimore Ravens intrigue me a lot because yeah, roll your eyes
They
some
don't
more.
intrigue me because of their history. I cannot take them serious in the playoffs. I just cannot get on board with it. It's
Okay.
been too many years of this, too many years of MVPs and unbelievable, and they look unbelievable. And then all of a sudden they just lie down in the playoffs. So I can't get on board just yet.
Okay. I can see that aspect, but in the aspect of just this year, I feel like they're so hit and miss, but when they're on, they will tear you apart. They're out for blood, and they're so as long as that team can stay in tow the whole playoffs, they're going to the Super Bowl. But if not, they'll gonna read another page in their history book of we can't win playoff games. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean they have one of the best duo running situations with
mm,
Lamar Jackson and Henry have been just out of this world running. I mean Henry's just putting up 100, 120, 150 yards a game
yeah,
consistently and easily. So they're very hard to stop from that aspect with that the run pass option and whatnot. But I'm not scared of their receivers at all. Not one bit.
like you
I'm
personally,
scared of Lamar Jackson.
you personally aren't
Very
scared.
I'm personally not scared of them. They don't scare me one bit. So if you can just bottle up that run game, which is way easier said than done,
Yeah.
but you got to keep an eye on Mr. Lamar Jackson, and I really think between those two guys, they can win a game easily,
Mm,
hands down.
yeah.
But it really their offense to me feels a lot more one dimensional than it really ever has. But this is
Yeah.
definitely this is Lamar Jackson's turn to prove it. He's got
It is.
multiple MVPs, no Super Bowls. What's he going to do? I
True.
mean, you're right. He is primed to have a big playoff push here, but that's what they say every single year.
Well, uh, they do share one thing in common with Minnesota. They both have purple. They both choke in the playoffs, but the Baltimore organization does have a Super Bowl, two Super Bowls actually. So,
Yeah, the
so
Harbaugh Bowl. We might
yeah,
have another Harbaugh Bowl.
yeah,
Why not? No, we won't actually, because they're both in the AFC.
yeah. Well,
So we could have a game to go to the Super Bowl.
dream on, pal.
Hey, Chargers are going all the way. Said no one.
Well, speaking of their opponent, um, the Houston Texans are the fourth seed. Uh, this team, they beat the Titans just this last weekend. Uh, this is the least scariest team in the playoffs. If I could like magically wave a wand and be like, take this team out and put any other AFC team in there, this would be the team because
Yeah.
they're garbage,
Well,
hot garbage.
they're riddled with injuries on the
Yeah,
receivers. I mean, their offense has been so inconsistent.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. This
CJ
is
Stroud,
this is a pretty easy one. I don't see them going too deep.
yeah,
Sure, they can maybe win a game, but they're yeah.
yeah. CJ Stroud doesn't look anything like he did last year, and yeah. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're the sixth seed. They lost to the unfortunate Bengals, who didn't make it in the playoffs. Um, I was very, very high on the Pittsburgh Steelers when, not right when Russell Wilson went in, but after he had a couple games, I'm like, wow, this team could make a run. And now these last like 4 weeks, I'm just like, who are you guys? Like, I don't know.
I'll tell you who they are. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the Iowa Hawkeyes of college football. It's boring football. I don't trust in their defense. I don't trust in Russell Wilson. He's a weird dude. And I just they're the team that's it's been like this forever. It's like, we can really pool up all these teams and yeah, they're great, have good regular season, fans will be happy.
Yeah,
No one's taking them serious. Why would they?
yeah,
They're not the Steelers are not a Super Bowl contender. In the
yeah,
AFC especially, not even close.
yeah, yeah. No, you said it there, so I got nothing more to say.
It is
Um,
what it is. I would say the same thing if Ben Roethlisberger were still playing.
that guy was just a brick up with legs.
You remind me of Mark Bolger.
That's a, that's an old guy. So the matchups for the AFC side, we have both of them on or two of them on Saturday. It's the Chargers at the Texans, 3:30. Then the Steelers at the Ravens, 7 o'clock game. And then Sunday, the noon game, the first game is Broncos at Bills. And then the Chiefs obviously get a bye. So before we make our picks on these for the challenge part of Mustard Cat's challenge, we have a few other questions that we're going to go through. And one of the things that I was seeing, Gary, was, and this was kind of talked about not just this week, but also last week when a lot of these were getting set, was there was a few people out there muttering about the playoffs and how they're seeded, because as of right now, you're seeded by whoever is the top person in their division, and then after that, then it's wild card spots, the um, highest ranked team from the record. A lot of people want to get rid of that and just go by the highest seed should be the team with the best record, and so be it. I don't know what your thoughts. I have my thoughts. Do you want to go first on that one?
Well, sure. I sure don't hate that idea.
Yeah.
I If I'm a Vikings fan,
Mm,
I'm furious.
mm.
What'd they end the year? 14-3?
Yeah.
They were 14-2 going, and they're fighting for their life in the final week of the year
Mm,
against the best team in the league. And they're fighting for their life because if they win that game, it's home field throughout and a first round bye. If they
mm.
lose that game, it's very likely they're going to be on the road the whole entire playoffs. That
Yeah.
is so much stakes for a 14-2 team in the final week of the year. I don't like that should not be the case. I
Mm,
agree with that. That has to be fixed in some way. And maybe it is just as simple as lining everyone up by their order, by their by their record. I
mm.
think that would solve a lot of problems. I mean, it would rearrange this thing a little bit where the Vikings would be the two or the
Second.
three. I don't
Yeah.
know who would
Yeah.
have the Eagles, but I mean, it doesn't change a whole lot. The But it would drop. The Packers would be the six, Commanders would be the five, and then it would bring the Rams
Yeah.
down. Which I mean, when you actually look at the NFC playoff picture, yeah, those Rams they don't belong there.
Mm,
And then I mean, the Packers it just depends who's going to show up, but I think they actually do belong there.
yeah.
So it's really you're talking about like one or two teams that would actually make a difference, but it's those home field advantage that's just so massive in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers talked about that so much. I
Yeah.
mean, when you look at his career, they were so good. When they won the Super Bowl, they did it all on the road. And
Mm,
every single time we could never, I don't think he clinched first round. I don't think he clinched the top seed once for the
mm.
Packers. I don't believe he did once. And he would always say every single time they
Uh,
lose
uh,
on the road to Seattle or on the road to the Niners, he would say this is exactly how important that regular season is because you need to have home field throughout. You believe he did get first
we
round
did have it, the
at
15 and
15 and
1,
1. The,
but then
the year after the Super Bowl.
Eli Manning came in
And
and
then we
was like,
lost the first round of the
yeah,
playoffs.
yeah. Eli Manning was like, "Hey, I'm coming in here."
Yeah. Yep. That game makes me sick.
Yeah.
Thinking about those Packers losing to the Giants at Lambeau, thinking about losing to the Seahawks on the road, losing to the
Yeah.
Niners on the road, Colin Kaepernick running for like 250 yards. That's always really fun.
Yeah.
But every time, it's just about who's playing the best football. And there's a couple of teams playing really, really good football right now. And I don't think it's the Packers.
Yeah. Well, my thought on the whole thing is I don't hate it. But if we're gonna step into that realm where you're gonna change up, where we're going from the highest ranked down to the lowest, and it's all by record, then you have to disband the divisions. You can't have, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their division, playing shit teams like that, because you're gonna have an advantage,
Right.
getting a better
Oh
record.
yeah.
So
Look at the Patriots,
yeah.
right? I mean,
Mhm.
when they were a dynasty,
Mhm.
look at the other teams in their division. It was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
So they get a cakewalk to the first round bye,
Yeah.
and then you get a tune-up game, and then you're playing one true hard game to go to the playoff, to go to the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. That's it. And that's the same thing that the Chiefs are doing right now.
Yeah.
Like the Chiefs are going to get, obviously, they get the first round bye.
Mhm.
They'll get a tune-up game against someone who's trash, out of the AFC
Yeah.
especially, and then they'll have to play one hard team. They'll have to
Yeah.
play either Baltimore or the Bills, and but guess what? They get them at Arrowhead. So
Mhm.
it's exactly right. Now the Chargers are in that division, but like the Raiders are trash. I mean, Denver is in there too, but it's just there are certain divisions where,
Yeah.
there's a huge advantage to
Yeah.
being the top dog in that crappy division, and it's usually a cakewalk to the Super Bowl.
Mhm. So if they do ever switch it up, they have to basically disband the divisions, and then each season they're gonna have to, because obviously in your division you always play everyone twice, and then so if they want to go that far, they have to go that far. You can't just change up the seating just for the playoffs and then don't do anything with the regular season, because if you do that, you're gonna create favoritism in certain
But if
divisions.
you take away divisions, does it take away rivalries? And sometimes rivalries
Ooh,
are all these lower programs have to be excited about throughout a
true.
season. Like think about the Bears, right? They were trash. I mean,
Yeah.
they had no business, but they beat that Packers. You know those fans are just so excited.
I
So
don't
excited.
I don't think you take it away fully because it's just driven like if the league was just starting out and you were doing it this way, I don't think it
Right.
happens. But it's so driven into Packers brains, Bears brains, Minnesota brains, Detroit brain. Like they already know like we hate each other. You know,
Yeah.
it
But if you take away divisions, I think it also would add to travel.
it yeah,
Now,
that
because I
would
think that's one of the big reasons
yeah,
is they like
yeah,
having 8 weeks out of the year
yeah,
be pretty close by, where it's a bus ride or a
yeah,
quick plane ride.
yeah,
But if you take away divisions, now all of a sudden you might have a really crazy travel schedule.
yeah. Agreed. So yeah, I'm just saying if they are, they got to go the full. You can't half-ass it because if you half-ass it, someone's gonna have There's already some teams that have it easy, and we obviously named a few off there, but you would have an even easier route if you did it that way. So, um,
Big time.
well, what are your two teams? And maybe you don't have two teams, but one on each side, AFC and NFC. What is a team that someone should watch out for that could be a surprise? They might not make it to the Super Bowl, but they're a sneaky team. One on each.
All right, one on each.
And
Sneaky.
they're like so for instance, I'll start with my AFC. So I think the Broncos, if they can somehow pull off their victory against the Buffalo Bills in the Bills, which would be absolutely insane, watch out for them. I always say watch out for them, but they have to play the Bills right away. They're probably going to get stomped. But if
Then
they
they got to
want,
go into Arrowhead.
it, oh yeah, they already did it. Well, they came to them, but
Watch
you know,
out.
yeah. I
You
truly
telling
think,
me a rookie QB is going to come in and beat Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes on the road?
hey, Denver
And then
start
probably go into Baltimore, if I'm not
Den
mistaken.
Denver started off a complete trash pile, and I was pounding them in the beginning of the season, saying they suck, and they've changed my mind for this whole season.
I
So
cannot stand Sean Payton.
I
Can't
can't
stand him
either.
one
I
bit.
can't either. But
Don't like him. Never have. Back to his Saint days. Just can't stand him.
yeah,
So I think he's annoying. I don't think they're going to win. I really don't.
okay,
I
well,
think I think this is going to be the most cookie cutter playoffs we've ever seen.
okay,
So you can just zoom forward.
yeah,
It'll be Bills versus the Chiefs.
okay.
The Chiefs will win.
So
It'll
you
be
think
something ridiculous.
okay? Well,
Chiefs will win, and the Chiefs will be in the air. The
perfect.
AFC is the most cookie cutter it will ever
Okay.
be.
Well,
I am hammering all the favorites.
that rolls in to the second question, which was what are your two teams going to the championship? So you have Kansas City or Buffalo going to Kansas City. So you don't think there's going to be any teams to
I
watch
think
out for
the
on
one
the
team to watch
AFC?
out for, who again doesn't stand a chance,
Yeah.
but the one team I do actually like and
Mhm.
think could make a little bit of a ruffle in the playoffs would be in the AFC would be the LA Chargers because
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 of how
I
they
have
play. They are about as consistent as it comes, and they just Harbaugh knows how to coach a team. They will not make mistakes. They do not get penalties on themselves, so they will let you beat yourself. If you make mistakes against the Chargers, they will make you pay because they do not make mistakes. The only issue is they don't have that unbelievable firepower that I really think they need to even remotely compete. But their defense, did you realize on the road this year, on road games this year, they have only allowed 20 or less points. They've never given up 21 points in a visiting matchup.
okay.
So their defense is doing something very, very special this year when it comes to going on the road and showing up in big games. And we all know Herbert. I mean, he's a
Yeah.
superstar, right? Like he can put up points anytime he wants. I just wish they had one more massive weapon. I wish they had one more big receiver. anything like that. But I do think that the Chargers absolutely have an ability to make a little waves this playoff season
Okay.
for sure.
Well, the positive thing is they go to Houston for the first game, which
And that's a big help.
yeah. So
Big help.
yeah.
That is a winnable game. And then here's the thing. When I look at the Chargers, the Chiefs, when I look at the Chiefs, I actually believe there's only one team who can beat them in Arrowhead. And this is going to make you laugh. It's the LA Chargers. And I'm not saying that any given other game there, like the Chargers will lose. But when you look at Herbert versus Mahomes, back to the day he came in,
Mhm.
back when they basically tried to kill, Tyrod Taylor, Herbert on no notice in Arrowhead, no notice, comes in his rookie season, week 2, and he takes it all the way to overtime where he lost, didn't even get to touch the ball in overtime. So I'm also sick and tired of that rule. But regardless, ever since, Herbert is, I think, like 3-5 against Mahomes. He can beat Mahomes. It helps when it's a divisional game. That helps. You know your opponents very well. So if there's one team, but I struggle to believe the Chargers will be able to truly pull it off. But it'll be a close game if they do make it to Arrowhead.
Okay. Well, let's jump over to the NFC side. Who do you have going to the NFC Championship?
Well, sim forward the Lions. Lions are going to be in the NFC Championship. It's frustrating. It's frustrating, but I've come to terms with it. They're a very high-powered offense and very balanced, incredibly balanced. Like I don't see a lot of weaknesses on the Lions, and it was apparent with the Vikings last night. They are just a handful. However, as I said, they are going to take some risks, and I really think one of those risks could flip a game upside down. So they need to make sure that they are, well-oiled in that sense. But they don't care because they're going to go for on 4th down, whether it's 4th and 15, 4th and a mile. They don't care because they trust their offense, and they should. Their offense is so high-powered. But so I'm thinking it's going to be Lions. Now, here's actually – I'm going to take that off the board. That's maybe my betting mind would say sim the Lions. But how amazing would this be? Just how amazing would this be?
So
I mean, this is
the pick you're going with. You're going with these two teams.
I'm going with these two teams.
Okay.
Imagine this. Green Bay knocks off a very rusty Jalen Hurts, and they catch him sleeping a little bit in the first half, and they hold on late. Packers advance. Lions get the bye. Vikings are going to handle business with the Rams, no problem. Vikings will take care of business against whoever else. And the Packers will go into Detroit. Because, again, it's a divisional game. Anything can happen with divisional games. So Packers know the Lions. Packers know the Vikings. Here's what I'm saying. Packers v. Vikings to go to the Super Bowl. That would be
it's going to be in Minnesota.
I know. In Minnesota, Green Bay versus Minnesota to go to the Super Bowl. Could you imagine? Oh, it would be fun. I don't think it's impossible because if anyone's going to beat the Lions at home, it's going to have to be an NFC North team. I know that without a doubt. I don't foresee anyone else beating them there. However, NFC North teams, we're not scared of going into Detroit. Not one bit. Not one bit. Rather be there than outside at 10-degree weather. So I really do believe that there is a world where we could see the Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings go to the Super Bowl. And boy, oh boy, would you just – I can hear the talk now that week. And think of the trash talk that would ensue following that win, whoever wins it.
There would be a ton of trash talk. Do you have any sleepers, people to watch for that potentially could mess up the whole system here?
Green Bay Packers would be my sleeper.
They're a sleeper? Okay.
I like Green Bay.
They're in 7th, so.
Yeah, big time. When they won the Super Bowl a couple years back, they were in the 6th seed, which was the low seed at the time. There was no 7th seed. And the Green Bay has just always traveled well. That's the one thing. When you talk about road games, especially road playoff games, Green Bay's going to show up. There's going to be a lot of fans there. Philly's a tough place to play. We all know that. But
Yeah.
Philly also is remembering what happened the last time the Packers came to town. Minnesota is thankful not to be going there because they go to the Eagles and they get absolutely spanked. So I think the Packers can make some waves if Jordan Love can be healthy and play at the high level that we know he can. But Christian Watson just got hurt. I mean, it's been one thing after another, it seems, with this team.
Yeah.
Love didn't even play the full game. He got injured with a little hand injury, finger injury on his throwing hand. So, I mean, we'll see if he even plays. But Malik Willis, if he goes, I mean, he's a beast. He's been an all-time backup. He's no Nick Foles.
No.
I don't think Malik Willis could go through the playoffs, NFC and AFC, and beat the Chiefs or the Bills for the Super Bowl.
The Packers defense would have to really lock it down if they would do that. So
they'd have to be allowing only 10, 13 points a game.
Yeah.
They would have to.
Yeah. Well, I guess I didn't even say my AFC side, but I agree with you. I don't see a world where the Kansas City Chiefs are not in the AFC Championship. It's just, would I appreciate if they weren't? Yes. But I feel like they're going to be there. So they'll be hosting. And I think it's going to be Baltimore.
Ooh.
And
wrong. Wrong.
And Baltimore will win. They will. They're going to finally get that monkey off their back.
I'm clipping this. I'm going to remember this and keep receipts.
Yeah. Why don't you write that down?
Baltimore will win in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Wrong.
So those are my two teams. And like I already said, I think Denver, they're sneaky. I think that if they somehow pulled off something down there, they could really stir up the whole pot. But they're going against a really good team. So probably not going to happen. NFC, though. Even as much as that scenario that you just panned out with Minnesota and Green Bay going there would be epic. I just don't see it happening. I see Detroit, and this is really plain vanilla, getting into the championship round. And this is also another vanilla choice. It's either going to be, if Minnesota obviously wins in LA, they're going to the championship. If they lose, obviously they're done because that's how it works. But I just feel like if they get the ball rolling, even though it's not a very good team they're playing against, they'll get back to, and we'll have a rematch of Week 18. But if they lose, Philadelphia, hands down, and Philadelphia will go in there. And here's the shocker: Philadelphia will go in there and win, and it will only be because the Detroit Lions shot themselves in the foot because they got too overly aggressive.
Went for it on 4th and 80.
Yeah. Too many fourth down things, and they lose by a very small amount, and then people do the whole point thing. Well, you shouldn't have did that. And it's like they lived that whole season like that. You got to continue it. So, and I think that the Super Bowl ends up being Philadelphia and Baltimore. So there you go.
Philly, Baltimore. Wow.
Yeah. So
I can see it. I mean, this year there's a lot going on. The Eagles, the one thing that they have going for them is their personnel. They are about as elite at every position as any team in this league, probably more so. So again, it's usually them kicking themselves in the foot. I think they have a lot of penalties, a lot of false starts and things. So I think they'll obviously, the only way you're beating the Eagles is if they beat themselves. And like I said, I truly believe that the Packers are going to need them to start slow and get out to a quick lead, which I think is possible. But they're going to, that is going to be a close game, or it's going to be a blowout on the Eagles side.
Definitely, they need to get the Eagles to start throwing, because if they stay with the run game, oh man,
it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun to watch Saquon go absolutely ape on us.
But
we'll see.
I will say the sneaky team to watch out for, even though they're the third seed, Tampa Bay, like I said, they're either going to be a fire team and just knock fucking doors off people, or they're going to be the dumpster fire and be like, wow,
Yeah.
they deserve to lose.
Yeah. Like I said, I think their offense is going to be primed. They're going to put up points. I
Okay.
think they're going to give up a lot of points
Now here is the question, Gary. Oh, actually, did you even say who would win that game in Minnesota?
versus the Packers.
Yeah, you did.
Green Bay. I
Oh,
believe Love will get his first road victory in Minnesota. I don't know if he's won there yet,
okay.
but it will come, and it will come and break the hearts of the Minnesota faithful.
Okay.
One way or another, Minnesota's going to have their heart broke this year, and I just hope their fans are getting ready for this because
They've been
it's once
they've
a
been
year. It's right about this time that they start contemplating not great things.
they they've been practicing for years, so they'll be fine. Um, all right. In the scenarios that we both created, who wins the Super Bowl?
Do you
Because
remember those stress balls?
yeah,
Remember stress? But actually, it was like the Vikings used to have stress bricks. I think it was a brick. I actually remember this because my uncle's a big Viking fan, and he had them. And there was this big Vikings brick, and you would
uh,
just be able to crunch it and throw it at
yeah,
the wall, throw it at the TV
yeah.
without breaking everything. But yeah, they're gonna have to start getting that grip ready because the
Are
stress and the frustration is coming.
are you thinking about buying up a bunch of those and sending them out to a bunch of Minnesota fans?
Yeah, actually, that would be my good deed for the year. And then I wouldn't have to do anything else, and it's
Yeah,
only January.
you're done. Well, of my Super Bowl picks of Philadelphia and Baltimore, uh, Baltimore gets their first, or not first, but Lamar Jackson gets his first Super Bowl victory. Finally. No more monkeys on his back. So,
The sad thing is, they're a 5 times a better team than the Chargers.
mhm.
I can picture the Chargers in the Super Bowl. I cannot picture the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl. I just cannot.
Well,
There's they are just not that they're not those guys.
well,
And I could eat these words, and I actually hope I do, because Lamar Jackson deserves all the accolades. But that team to me is just too one way to, in my opinion, go anywhere close to that Super Bowl.
you heard it here. It's going to be a purple team that wins, and it's not Minnesota.
Good
Uh,
luck.
so who wins in your Super Bowl? Green Bay and you said Kansas?
Green Bay v. Chiefs.
Yeah,
And the Super Bowl this year is in Atlanta.
I think so. I don't even know, to be honest with you.
It's in a dome down there somewhere.
Yeah, it
Um,
doesn't matter. It's in nice weather, so
just because the NFL is so scripted and I'm sick and tired of it, the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. Yeah, and I'm not even gonna get mad this year because I already know it's coming.
it's true.
I wish I would have had the foresight last year to see it coming with all the Taylor Swift things going on, and it
Yeah,
just felt like this is so obvious. This year, it's actually more obvious to me
yeah,
that they will win the Super Bowl.
I agree.
It's become even more clear, even though they're a worse team.
Yeah,
They are not as good this year. It
no,
doesn't matter though. It does not matter.
they're terrible. You can pick out. I'd have to pull up their schedule, but I know for the fact for their first six
Well,
games, their
they're
first six,
terrible with Carson Wentz, apparently, but they're juggernauts with Patrick Mahomes.
through their first six games, and it even goes even past that. But their first six games, there was significant plays that were changed by the refs on a call that didn't need to be called or shouldn't have been called, and it just automatically got them the win. And you take 5 wins away from them, they're not as scary looking.
Yeah,
Nor, yeah. So,
they're one of like 4 teams in the league who hasn't scored 30 points in any game. And the other teams are the Giants, the Carolina Panthers, and the Raiders, I think. I mean, just absolutely trash. So that's the company they're in.
yeah,
Doesn't matter though.
yeah.
Doesn't matter at all.
So,
Because the
hey,
golden boy and the golden team and golden coach will get their win.
I agree with you. The even though I said Baltimore's probably going to win, but I'm just still living on that hope edge that they just get knocked out. But I
You
agree
should
with
stop
you.
because every year, that's what we say.
Hey, all I have to say is if they do win this year again, I'm probably going to put down some money next year to
Yeah,
like, hey, they're going to
honestly,
win the Super Bowl because they're the quote unquote Patriots,
I
even
think
though
there's
they're
a
not.
lot of I think there's a lot of fans where if the Chiefs get to another Super Bowl, no one's no this I actually hear my words here. If the Chiefs make it to this Super Bowl,
Mm,
this will be the worst Super Bowl ratings,
mm,
in my opinion,
yeah,
in the last 20 years.
probably.
And that's probably a terrible bet to make because every single year that goes by, there's more families getting TVs.
True.
There's more people watching football. There's more fans. They've grown their outreach. I think no one cares about the Chiefs. No one wants to see them there, and except for those Chiefs fans,
Well,
that's the
I will
one group.
I will agree with you. The ratings of actual football fans will drop. But if the Chiefs get in there, Taylor Swift's going to be there. The Swifties will watch just to see her. So, in that sense, the ratings probably will go up, but the quality of viewers will be down. So,
I could see that.
take your
I
pick.
could see that.
Take your pick.
Yeah,
You want quality
it's a good
viewers or
assessment.
do you want quantity? So,
It's a good assessment.
um, but yeah. So these last couple questions here, Gary, before we get into who we're picking, um, for this wild card weekend. Of these wild card games, which one of these games do you think is going to be the best game? Like, if you're telling someone, hey, go watch you should, if you can only watch one game and it can be AFC, NFC, which game is going to be worth your time to watch? And it's not going to be a blowout, it's going to be a good game.
I could tell you one game it won't be.
No, no, that is the other question. So, yeah, you can. What's the
I could
worst game?
start there.
Okay.
If anyone asks me, hey, what game should I watch? I only got one game to watch, and that's it. I tell you this, I am not telling them to watch anything the Steelers are touching, which means Steelers in Baltimore will be the most boring game that we have ever seen. It will be the most Iowa Hawkeye versus Purdue Boilermakers game, where it will be 10-13 going into the fourth, no excitement, until someone's going to make a mistake and throw a pick, and then that's game over. Yeah, so I will not be telling anyone to watch that game.
Okay.
My game to watch
Yeah.
this year, this weekend, my
Yeah.
game to watch when I think about actual upset potential, actual high quality players on both sides of the field,
Mhm.
truly good football, fun football.
Mhm.
Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Green Bay Packers. It has to be.
Yeah.
They have some of the funnest offenses and offensive schemes they're running right now. It's going to be powerhouse football on Eagles, running it down our throats. The Packers are always going to be good for big 30, 40-yard darts.
Mhm.
And I really think there's going to be some fireworks going on in that game. Philly versus Green Bay would be my game to watch if you only had one game to watch.
Okay. I don't hate
How
either of
about
those.
you?
I don't hate any of those. I'll go with two different games just so we don't have the same one. I will agree with you though. Anytime that I feel like I've watched a Pittsburgh game and a Pittsburgh and Baltimore game in general, even not even in the playoffs, it's usually like lackluster and just really low scoring and not a lot going on. So I will agree with you there. But I truly think the game, unless you're an LA Chargers fan, uh, that's going to be a snooze fest. The Chargers are going to walk all over those Houston Texans. The Houston Texans are bums. Uh, they they should swap. They should have swapped that team out for the Bengals because the Bengals deserve to be in the playoffs. They have played better football in the last 4 or 5 weeks than the Houston Texans have played their whole season. Even though the Houston Texans are 10-7, they got their butt kicked by Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, who don't even know what's up or down half the time. So yeah, that one I wouldn't even tune into unless you're an LA Chargers fan and you just want to see some ass kicking. So, um,
Agree.
on the other side, I do agree with you. I think the Packer and Philadelphia will be a very good game. Even if the Philadelphia Eagles start slow, don't start slow. But the dumpster fire or fire Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think will be a very good showing. Um, the Washington Commanders are a good team. They got to come into Tampa. But I think that'll be a good game. It will either be a high scoring game or a lot of turnovers. So if you
Yeah,
love turnovers,
absolutely.
uh,
Which is, in my opinion, sloppy. So if you like sloppy football, tune in.
hey, if you like dumpster fires, everyone loves a good dumpster fire. You got to watch. So, um, the last question before we move on is of the two first seeds, and I know we already made a prediction of, you know, who our teams in the championship are. This is kind of off the record. Of the two first seeds, Lions and Chiefs, which one of those do you see losing in their first game, if they did?
I don't personally see either of them losing their first game, but if it were going to be anyone,
Mhm.
I highly would put money on the Lions over the Chiefs.
Mhm.
Lions will get to host Green Bay or the Commanders.
Mhm.
Both, in my opinion, can easily go toe to toe offensively with them. It's
Yeah.
just can their defenses come up with some stops, come up with some turnovers on downs, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Um, it's going to be if anyone's going to lose that the first one seeds, I'd say it's going to be the Lions. But I personally, I could see both of them advancing.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think both of them are going to advance. But if there is one team, it's Detroit because Kansas City has the refs. They're bound to go to the Super Bowl. They have to Super Bowl. They have to
They have
win.
to.
So, so
The ratings wouldn't work. The
yes.
script wouldn't be correct.
So
They have
I,
to.
I very much agree with you on that. Any other thoughts on any of these teams before we go into the picks?
Let's get into it.
All right. So, everyone that has or has not watched any of our challenge portion, we go through games, pick teams, and whoever is right or has the most right at the end wins, and whoever doesn't loses. And as the host, if I lose, then if there is a comment in the comment section that says I have to go to a punishment, as long as it's not illegal and I can video it, I will go do that. So put your punishments down there. If I lose, I have to do it. If I win, I don't have to. Guest doesn't have to. They just have the embarrassment of losing to me.
Which has that ever happened yet?
No, it
In
hasn't. So
16 weeks, you're 0-16. That's pretty pathetic. So it's not going to change this week. Tell you that much.
normally we have more games than this, but this is just the playoff football edition. Also, I will say this, any of the stuff that we said earlier in the podcast doesn't affect what they're picking now. So, for instance, if Gary said, one team was like the Chargers were going to win, if he wants to take the Texans, he surely can. So, it's just a game against us. So, let's begin, pal. Saturday's game, 3:30. The Chargers are going to the Texans. Do you want me to pick first? Because I'm not taking the Texans.
I already know. Yeah. Let's just both put down the Chargers and move on
Yeah.
with our lives.
Yeah. I don't know who in the right mind would pick the Texans. I feel like even if you were a Texan, you wouldn't even take them, you know? Uh,
Yeah. This is one of those games where they shouldn't even have a home field advantage, but they do, which will maybe keep it tight in the first half. But the Chargers just don't make mistakes.
hey, Gary, I just noticed this. We both picked games not to watch, and they're both on Saturday. So, to be honest, just don't worry about watching Saturday football.
Yeah. The real playoff starts Sunday.
Because the next game is 7 o'clock, Steelers at Ravens. So
Steelers at Ravens. This is actually fun. You're going to hate this, but
oh,
if there's one team who can beat Baltimore on the road, it's the Steelers. It has to be.
so
The
you're
Steelers are just, I mean, they are pesky. Like I said, the Iowa Hawkeyes of the NFL. So they're just going to hang around. It's going to be a grungy game, 10-13 going into the fourth. And then what's going to happen is they're just going to, you're right. No Broncos country anymore. Russell Wilson is in Steeler country. And he's gonna pull off some wicked, ridiculous play late in the fourth that's gonna get edge this situation. So I'm taking the Steelers to advance
Well,
week one.
thank goodness, because I'm taking the Ravens because I've been riding that horse now. So yeah,
Meh.
yeah. So there we go. Sunday, we got three games. The noon game is Broncos at the Bills. And let me tell you here, I am completely torn because one, I want to pick Denver because I think they're sneaky enough. But the Bills would have to just completely lay down. Like they would have to have one of their worst games of the whole entire year. So I can't go against that. So I'm going Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. Buffalo's just too much to handle,
Yeah.
especially at home. Buffalo takes care of business pretty easily, in my opinion.
Game number two is 3:30 Packers at Philadelphia. Are you taking the Packers?
Give me Green Bay on the road.
All right. Um, I'm not against that, but I need to win. I need some points. So I'm going Philadelphia. So
I don't hate it.
here's the last one of Sunday. 7 o'clock Commanders at the Buccaneers. I'm taking the dumpster fire. Tampa Bay.
Ooh, 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 ooh. And this is where I'm going to take the Commanders.
Oh,
I'm
so
going to say they are too much to handle.
you think it's going to be a dumpster fire?
I think it's going to be 45 to 38.
Good.
Dumpster if there ever was one. But there's going to be points everywhere.
Here, I wrote 45 to 38. So if we're tied, you
That'll be
know,
the tiebreaker.
if you guess that and that's it, then you win.
Perfect.
Last game here on Monday, 7 o'clock, Vikings at Rams. This is a toss-up for me because part of me wants to be like, you know what? Minnesota's going to shake that off, that loss, get back up on the hobby horse, and go win against LA. But then on the other hand, I'm like, did that just shake their whole mindset up? And now they're unsure of their self.
And they got to
And
go on the road.
yeah, and Matthew Stafford is Matthew Stafford, and he kind of reminds me a lot of Eli Manning. A little better thrower, but everyone kind of forgets about him until like playoffs, and you're like, holy shit, Matthew Stafford. Okay,
Yeah, he
so
can ball out. I mean, he's a Super Bowl winning
he is.
quarterback with the Rams. Keep
Mhm.
that in mind. He's done that before. He's been there before.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree with you where I like the Rams a little bit. And yeah, the road environment makes it a little tough on the Vikings. However, it's LA. And LA is just not a playoff environment you're worried about. It's all celebrities. It's all like
Yeah.
people who don't even know about football.
True. True.
All my LA people are going to get furious with me here. I'm just saying, I think there's going to be a lot of Viking fans in the stadium. And
True.
I think I'm going to go with the Vikings to advance and get that
Yeah.
first win under their belt.
Well, you need that to happen for you to have your
Exactly.
so yeah. And I'm glad you did that because I just didn't really want to pick the Vikings, even though there's a Vikings flag behind me. I didn't want to pick the Vikings. So LA Rams.
Goal.
You gotta get the arms up. School.
Ay, ay, ay.
So there you have it. We'll see who wins. Other than that, Gary, do you have any other last minute decisions, questions, answers, predictions? Looks like you're supporting the Minnesota Timber Puppies.
That's correct. Old school Kevin Garnett.
Ooh.
Um, Well, let's see about this. Any last second thoughts,
Yeah.
feelings? Um, I feel like I've roasted the Vikings enough. I'm
Yeah.
going to give them. I'm going to give them this win, and I'm going to allow it to happen. Um, and I'm going to be able to sleep with myself, knowing that I voted for the Vikings to win. So, any other thoughts?
Well, you can think about it for a
Let me
second.
ask you this question.
Okay.
Let me
Yeah.
ask you this question.
Yeah.
Will there be a game finally? It has not happened yet. It's happened a couple times this season where,
Hmm.
and it's happened notoriously to the Green Bay Packers
Yeah.
over time, where get to an overtime game in the playoffs and then not both quarterbacks get to touch the ball, right? Well, that
Yeah.
just happened actually yesterday
Yeah.
with, it happened again yesterday with the Washington Commanders, I believe.
Yeah. It might have been. I have to look.
Was it the Commanders who? No, no, no. It was,
Um.
who went to OT yesterday? It was actually, it was against the Falcons.
Oh. Yeah.
I was right? No,
No. No. It looked like that one.
Carolina, Atlanta,
Oh, that's what it was.
Carolina. So it happened yesterday in the Carolina game where
Oh yeah.
Atlanta gets the overtime, doesn't even get to touch the ball. I cannot stand this rule. It's
Yeah.
the worst rule in the world. But don't worry, we've changed that for playoffs. So why would we have a different rule in the regular season and have that rule and a different rule in the postseason? It makes no sense to me. So regardless of this fact,
Hmm.
my question for you: will there be any game throughout the entire playoff, but let's say this first weekend to start,
Okay.
that will not only go to overtime, but will finally enforce this new rule where the first team actually scores a touchdown in overtime? Just happened yesterday. Will that happen in the playoffs?
Will that
Playoffs are
happen?
notorious for going to overtime, by the way.
Yeah, I'm looking at the games.
I think it'll be more of an issue when we get to Bills, Chiefs,
Yeah. I don't.
Ravens, Chiefs, that
Any
type
of
of
these,
situation.
all these
These
games.
first ones are pretty.
Yeah, I don't really see. Even though we said that the Pittsburgh and Baltimore game was gonna be a dud, but I could definitely see that ending in a 10-10 going in
Me
overtime.
too.
So like we need more of that. But yeah, I would have to more
Now, keep in
like.
mind, the rule just states that both teams get to touch the ball.
Hmm.
Okay. But the overtime period does not extend.
Correct.
So, yesterday, actually, the Carolina Panthers, when they marched down against the Falcons,
Mm.
they scored a touchdown, game's over. But
Yep.
they actually only had like 4 minutes left on the clock.
Hmm.
They took off, I think,
Yeah.
8 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's the worst rule, in my opinion,
Hmm.
because, yeah, Patrick Mahomes might be able to take up this 10-minute drive
Yeah.
ending in a touchdown. And now Josh Allen is only going to be able to operate a 2-minute offense. It
Correct.
still comes down to a coin flip. And that's what
Yeah.
infuriates me. I'm so sick of this rule. So
Yeah.
they need to switch it up somehow. Maybe get it to a college situation, but I think
Yeah.
you could even back it up farther. I don't care, but it needs to be changed because I'm sick of these coin
Yeah.
flips really determining
I
how a script goes in overtime.
yeah. I would agree with you on that. And I've just thought this right out of my brain. What they should switch to is you go into overtime, it's still a coin flip, but both teams get to touch the ball. There's no time on the clock. So you could waste as much time as you wanted, to be honest with you. And after both teams touch the ball, if no one scores a touchdown, then they put a clock up for, say, 6 minutes and go off of that. Call it a day. Because then at least both teams get a chance at touching the ball, having basically one drive as long as they want. Because if you mess up, then whatever. If you don't, you
You know what
scrap.
I'd rather have?
So what?
I'd rather have it be kickers having a kickoff. playing a game of horse with kicking.
That'd
Coming
actually
over
be cool.
here, okay, I make it, now you got to make it. I make it, now you got to make it. And they can go off the hashes. They can be kicking diagonal. I think that would
That
be worth
that
the
would
fun.
be
And it would actually entice teams to go out and have incredible kickers because kickers are
true.
terrible this year.
That's
There's
true.
missing kicks is becoming so normalized, and
Yeah.
it should not be.
Yeah.
Think of Adam Vinatieri. Think of those. Why they win
Yep.
Super Bowls is because you don't miss kicks. You
Yep.
need kicks every single game. They are the difference maker.
Hmm.
And there's way too many misses going on. So why not do something like that? Or put a rule in, start at the 20. You can't pass the ball.
Yeah.
Just smash mouth runs only. And you
Yeah.
got 4 downs to get touchdown.
Or
No field goals.
oh, oh,
Whatever.
hear me out here. This is like some backyard stuff. And I believe hockey does this when they start going into overtime, like second overtimes, they start taking away players and stuff. Going to overtime, we start taking, people out. So like,
4-on-4
yeah,
football.
yeah, you
One-
you get one
Two
blocker,
blockers, a QB, and a receiver.
yeah,
Oh, that'd be
and
fun.
you just start cutting people out, and then maybe you say you start at the 50-yard line at that point, and you have to go from the 50 to there. No field goals. It has to be a score. I don't know.
You know how many bubble screens they'd run to like Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson? Just get this guy the ball, and
Yeah,
he has one man to beat, and they will beat him probably 9 times out of 10. That would be so fun to watch.
it would. It
And
would.
then those guys would get exhausted. So, so then it starts to fall apart too. I think it'd be incredible. It'd be
Yeah.
so much better than watching one team march down, touchdown, game over.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's not game over, now the other team, it's totally different circumstances. If you're only able to operate a 2-minute offense against a really good defense,
You
it
feel
ruins games.
Yeah, you feel cheated as a fan.
You
Like
do.
especially like if you're watching a game that's going back forth, and then it
Yeah.
comes to
It's
overtime.
whoever's going to hold the ball
Yeah,
last.
and then coin flip, someone gets it, and then in the instance of like regular season, like your quarterback doesn't even get to touch the ball. Like
I can tell you this.
that makes no sense.
I can tell you this. If it turns out to be Chiefs in the AFC Championship,
Mhm.
and whatever team it is,
Mhm.
well, whoever, doesn't
Yeah.
matter. If you are at Arrowhead and you are in a tight game and it's coming down to the end and you score a touchdown
Yeah,
to tie it,
yeah,
you have to go for the 2-point conversion. If you go into overtime at Arrowhead, I promise you, you will
yeah,
lose. And it won't even be your fault. It really won't. It probably
yeah,
won't. But honestly, I'd rather go for 2 and lose it, live by the jump shot, die by the jump shot. At least
yeah,
I can sleep with myself knowing I would have had a fair shot at
yeah,
one play. And I know a lot of coaches do that, but
yeah.
especially in Arrowhead, there's no way I'm going to overtime there because if I do get the ball back, it's going to be a totally different circumstance, and it's probably not going to be favorable.
True, true that. Yeah, no. Hopefully overtime doesn't affect games because that'll suck. But it probably will happen at some point in this playoff.
Definitely as we get closer to the Super Bowl, for sure. Those are the tight games.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's usually just going to be whoever has got the ball last.
yeah. So unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, it was fun having you on, and
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
we'll get you back on. I think we've been talking about this. We'll get you, Sam, and I talking. Maybe towards the end of the playoffs, we can all get on. But yeah,
Works for me.
everyone stay tuned. I think next week, Mr. Sam might be on, and we might be in person in a different location. So
Ooh,
stay tuned for that, folks.
fun.
Otherwise, make sure you go follow Mustard Cats on all of our social media. And don't forget, we do have a website, www.mustardcats.com. And, don't forget to put a punishment down in the comments. And you might as well leave whoever you think is going to go to the Super Bowl, too. And if it's the Chiefs, just don't even comment.
We don't want you here.
Yeah. Other than that, you guys have a great day, weekend, and we'll see you guys later.
Take care.